is experiencing economic woes. The argument seems to be, we're in tough economic times. I know what. Let's sell more alcohol, and that'll solve the problem. That's the argument. It's a ridiculous argument, and I urge you to please remember the promise you made to the citizens.
Well, certainly, Brother Carl Gallups has been a defender of the community for many years, and I just want to say how much I appreciate him. One point that I'd like to expand on that he made, and actually there was a change in an ordinance. There was kind of a little bit of a loophole there, in that a liquor selling establishment moving into an area had to be 2,500 feet from an existing church. Or school. And it kind of left a little interpretation and who's running the tape measure, and it could be they could ask for exceptions if it was slightly closer and that kind of stuff. And Brother Carl, and I think it's fair, and the commission agreed with him, they closed that loophole. It's 2,500 feet, period, end of story. There are no more exemptions for anything less than 2,500, and I think that was good. But his point that he made was it's a never-ending flow of asking for changes in the ordinances.
Which is, of course, true. Whatever the issue, that's always the case.
We've watched it ourselves, and the other point that I think that he made was a strong one, and certainly we told you the points of the pro-alcohol sales. One point that he made was that the argument is it solves all the problems. When the wet-dry issue was up, where it was being promoted, the pro-alcohol side said, well, it's all these tax revenues and our economic problems will be solved. And, it hasn't solved anything. I mean, if you look, the taxes on alcohol is collected the one pot statewide.
Right. It goes to the state first.
Yeah, it goes to the state first.
And then it's subdivided.
There's no huge influx of tax dollars to the community as a whole, or the county as a whole.
It's probably true, though, that in a restaurant type establishment, it's probably true if you can serve alcohol on Sunday, you're going to have a bigger crowd. That's probably true. It
may increase your crowd. The opposing side of that is that anybody that's been to church on Sunday morning that goes to a restaurant is not going to eat there anymore if what normally follows with alcohol, a little bit of yelling and screaming and behavior issues, they're not going to frequent that establishment. So it's kind of a two-edged sword on that. I think there's maybe some places, a sports pub, maybe you might increase your sales. Right. At a restaurant that serves majority of their businesses food and a small amount of alcohol, I don't think people that go there on Sunday will want to participate in that. They don't want to be seen at that establishment. So,
and of course, there's also a fairness issue. Right. But again, that's what it's a gray area. To some extent, that stuff is up to, those issues are up to the populace, the citizens of that particular area, whether they want that or not.
Now, one final thought that he made, and we're kind of getting to the end of this show, was, and I didn't know this, had to research it myself. After a county goes wet, every 2 years after that, the citizens in a county, according to population, it would take about 30,000 signatures, but if they get the 30,000 signatures and the supervisor of elections verifies that they are good signatures, the wet-dry issue can be placed back on the ballot every 2 years through infinity.
And it sounded like that may be in the works. We could have another wet-dry vote.
Well, as you noted in Brother Carl's comments, that there already is a group of people that's been meeting. They have sought legal counsel on how to handle it, and and I'm going to say, let's get back to the fairness issue. The wet-dry ballot was done as a mail-out ballot, and I don't think that was fair. We've done every election in Santa Rosa County since the inception that we hung a shingle out there has always been done at the polls. And for this issue,
including the sales tax proposed for roads,
including the sales tax, and I didn't think that was fair. I think it was underhanded. The commissioners knew that there were opposition to that, and they slammed the gavel quick on that. They voted to do a mail-out ballot and jumped up out of their seat and left the commission chambers because they knew that there was huge opposition. I just think your voting standard should be handled on everything. If it's so important to do a sales tax issue at the polls, then you should vote on alcohol at the polls.
It costs more to do a mail-out ballot.
Oh, absolutely, it costs more.
As opposed to just letting it go onto a normal ballot that would come up in the normal election cycle to do a special referendum.
So you know, there we've tried to give you the facts of what has happened in the past. We've given you what has happened recently. We hope you understand it clearer now. Certainly, if you have a side in this, you need to let your commissioner know what it is. Take the time to email it.
As of this taping, we don't know, but we have some information that it will probably go to referendum rather than them just voting on it one way or the other.
That I feel my guess is right now that it definitely will get a public airing. There will be a public meeting, and then the commissioners will decide which way. And it quite possibly, the fairness issue, I think is maybe ringing true with some of the commissioners now that it should be done on a referendum. So we'll just have to wait and see.
And at that point, it's up to the citizens to decide whether they want liquor sales on Sunday or not.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we hope once again, 30 minutes is never enough. We hope we've educated you here. We've given you the ammo that you need to discuss this item, and we appreciate you watching us. And once again, we'll see you next Saturday from 4:30 to 5 on Channel 27 Mediacom. I'm Jerry Cooey.
I'm Deborah Nelson. Good night.
Commissioner Salter, I appreciate the fact that you publicly spoke to the record of fact that you did make those promises. And then surprisingly, I heard you say, but this is different. And sir, may I respectfully voice my opinion and remind you that it really is not different, sir, because the ordinance that's in question today was in standing before we went wet, and the promise was a blanket promise that all of the standing ordinances would be left intact. There are always good reasons to change and twist and tweak ordinances. And so please remember your promise, which is a promise of record, that the ordinances that were intact, you were very passionate, and I appreciate it, and the voters of this county appreciated it, that you would not tweak or twist the ordinances regarding liquor sales. And this particular ordinance was there before we went wet. So I think that there is no difference here. And I'll just respectfully disagree with you on that, and of course you have the right to vote however you wish.